Hello, this is Deborah Rudd, and today I'm going to discuss school network. Our standards for this are students articulate and set personal learning goals, develop strategies of leveraging technology to achieve them, and reflect on the learning process itself to improve learning outcomes. Students build networks and customize their learning environments in ways that support the learning process. Students use technology to seek feedback that informs and improves their practice to demonstrate their learning in a variety of ways. Students use the fundamental concepts of technology operations, demonstrates the ability to choose, use, and troubleshoot current technologies, and are able to transfer their knowledge to explore emerging technologies. Teachers shape, advise, and articulate a shared vision for empowered learning with technology by engaging with education stakeholders, advocate for equitable access to educational technologies, digital content, and learning opportunities to meet the diverse needs of all students, model for colleagues the identification, exploration, evaluation, curation, and adaptation of new technology resources, tools for learning. Coach, create and share vision, culture for using technology to learn and accelerate transformation through the coaching process, facilitate equitable use of digital learning tools and content that meet the needs of each learner, cultivate a supportive coaching culture that engages educators, leaders to achieve and share vision, connect leaders, educators, and stakeholders in tech support, demonstrate domain experts and providers to maximize potential. Sorry, right here, my image in the corner is obscuring that part, but the presentation will also be part of this. All right, why? Okay, so I want to take us back first to when I came to our school. When I came to our school, the network, it basically was not reliable. I saw so many issues. The teachers were flipping switches. They weren't getting connections. They had iPads that they basically could not use. I saw this to be very inefficient. And teachers, they just didn't use the technology because they could not rely on it. Even myself, as the technology, at that time considered the technology teacher, was very frustrated. I could get nothing done with the students because of all the technology issues. And the network did not seem reliable at all. As a person within the school community, I did know, before I was a teacher that is, that particular network had crashed about a year or two before I came into the position. So I knew that there were some issues. And after learning more and more, I made a decision to move us to a different direction. I'm discussing with the principal at the time and with the former technology teacher, I made a decision to move us to Google. The decision was that we move away from the server, completely do away with it. It was outdated. The year was around 2014, and the server was from back in the 1990s. It had been updated to about 2003, but it wasn't sufficient. The teachers didn't save to it. The students weren't even allowed access to it. I couldn't get anything done, and we needed to become a 21st century school. I saw this vision, and so did the principal at the time, and the principal that came in as well continued that vision and has even supported the growth of that. So we are a Google Cloud school, and we use G Suite for education. So what does this all mean, and what does it all mean with our network? First of all, I wanted to start with, this is our network room. You can find it next to the supply room. Now, I didn't take a big picture of it. I am trying to be careful for security reasons, since this will be on YouTube. Also, here's what we see in our network room. First, this is the cable, the internet line, basically, that comes in from the outside world and comes into our school to allow us to have internet. And this wonderful blue line, which does not look like the best solution, but that's the wonderful blue line that goes from where the cable or the internet, excuse me, it is a cable box because it's from the local cable company. It goes from that box all the way over onto the other side of the room to where our switches are. And we will learn more about that in a few minutes. So this here is the box. Now there's two boxes. One is a Spectrum box and the other is our regional supplier box. Now, this is our current setup in 2022. We are going to investigate ways to make this even more efficient. And I'll explain more of that as we move forward. So that blue line comes over and it comes over to the switches I talked about. These are our switches, okay? These boxes up here, these are all called switches. These are brand new. Since I've been here, this is actually our third purchase of switches. And I'll explain more why we had to buy new switches over the summer. Now, I will say this was a surprise to me. I had health issues last year, so I did not, we were buying new switches until I came back in August. Our principal and our IT network provider had just made that decision. And again, I'll explain more with that and later. And then we also have our CAB 6. We have CAB 6 cables. So those are newer cables as well. So we've got some new cables in there from what we had before. And this all leads to a very reliable network. But there's still one more step on this, okay? But here's one thing. When our internet goes down, what do we need to do? We need to reboot it, okay? So there's times when it's just our internet, which comes from the local cable company, and we simply unplug it and plug it back in. Like we've learned in one of our classes, that to troubleshoot, the biggest one, and I've always tell all the teachers and staff to turn it off and turn it back on first. And that is what we have to do sometimes with the internet. Not always, but a majority of times it goes down, that happens. We don't have that happen too often. Sometimes it's due to weather-related issues and some issues, other issues. But it can happen, and that's what we do. Okay, so I talked about the type of about the cable we have. We have a CAD 6 cable. So if you click on this image here, and it will be in the Google Slides presentation, you can learn more about the different types of cable. And down here it says CAD 5, CAD 6, and CAD 7. The YouTube channel here, this gentleman does a very good job of explaining about the different types of CAD cables that you can have. And what's interesting at the end is he basically says that the cables really, there's not much difference when it comes to the speed. They're very close to each other. But we do have the CAD 6 because that's what our IT company has recommended. And I always go with their suggestions because they're, first of all, I want us to have the best quality network we can have. So in the future, hopefully we won't have to right away be investing more money into the network. And we want reliability. It's so important, especially today with the remote. We must have very reliable internet. I've heard many cases that people, they're having struggles. The students have struggles of doing things because they don't have the reliable internet. And that's always been my main goal, one of my main goals in our school. Okay. So that explains the cables. Now we've got our access points, okay? Now you'll see these up in the ceiling, but you won't see them in all the classrooms. We are actually, since I've been at the school, we are on our third set of access points. Our first ones were basically just to get us to where we were capable to do more. We did not have the access points at all for what the network we need, for the network that we needed. So we bought those, and then we bought some more because those were becoming outdated. Of course, they were cheaper. We had to get what we could to get our feet wet, and those were doing great. And the switches related to that. So the switches, they were all the Unify, but Unify became quite expensive according to our IT department, our company, I should say. And so we had to switch. They had used these access points with one school. They also used it for our festival, and they are very powerful. So we don't, which means they have a bigger range of where you can grab the access. So this one, actually, particular one, is in our STEM lab, which happens to be my classroom. But we do need one in the STEM lab because we use a lot of computers in there. The printer is in there as well, the 3D printer that is. And also it's partly the location as well. So computers are used in all of our classrooms throughout our entire school. So it's important that we have strong access points throughout the school, but they're all placed in, and these are very powerful, that you actually can get the signal outside as well. So they actually have to control how far the range goes, otherwise they could conflict with their other access points as well. So they're very reliable. But you can click on this and you can learn more about it. There are Cisco Meraki. That's what we have, and you can see it right here. And then it goes on in this website to just talk about the efficiency. And it says the untouchable visibility. This here is what our IT company will see. They can see everything that's going on, any problems there may be. Basically, that's for them to be able to troubleshoot, and like it says down here, remotely. Okay, because it talks about the dashboard here, and that they can actually do remote for this. And I do like this because I like that our company can do this. They can see there's a problem, they can fix it. Sometimes they do things that we don't even know it. Now, I have had them shut down an access point by accident for some reason, so that was noticeable. But in general, it's very efficient. They do things that we don't even realize that they do. And because they do it so they don't interrupt our school. They do not want to interrupt education at all. They do a good job of trying to not interrupt when I'm teaching, and they do a good job of when the teachers are teaching, they try not to come in at that time when they do pay a visit. So unless there's an emergency, then they will do that. It does vary. Okay, so that's about our wonderful access points. Okay, then we've got, our Google server. Okay, the Google server, I wanted to learn about this, and you can click on this image and learn more about it. And this is what it looks like for a Google server. So when you go to Google Cloud, you don't have a server in your school, okay? I got rid of it. I made that decision to get rid of it. Servers are expensive to purchase and they're expensive to maintain. And as a private school, we do not have the money to invest in a brand new server. And it made no sense when we were purchasing Chromebooks and using Google to have even a server. Google just needed to be our server. Now we do have some PCs, but those are set and backed up to the Google Cloud, right to Google Drive. So everything is stored on Google Drive. And when you're a Google school, you have unlimited storage in your Google Drive. So you don't have to worry ever about maxing out. And you don't have to worry about that server. The server sits somewhere in another location. As you can see, you can see the blue. I'm assuming those are probably coolers to keep things cool, to keep all the servers in this building cool. And you can see that they have windmills, and they do keep it energy efficient. Google is very big on that. So I was, like I said, when I was researching, I was really wanting to find this out. So this I thought would be interesting for the teachers, for you as well. Okay. So then it leads to the end, where we reach this G Suite for Education. And this is, you can click on here and learn more about the G Suite for Education. But with the Google Cloud, this is exactly what we get for G Suite for Education. Now, this is just the basic apps, but we have a lot more included. This is your Drive, your Google Classroom, your Gmail, your Calendar, your Google Docs, your Google Sheets, your Google Slides, and your Google Forms. So these are all great. And all of this has led to us to be an outstanding remote school. One of the standards that I just mentioned earlier did talk about how we need to meet the diversity, in schools and make sure that everyone has accessibility. And the biggest thing is I needed to make sure our teachers had accessibility so they could implement technology throughout their curriculum. And it's been amazing since I have been there, since we have this reliable internet, outstanding also different hardware as well, that the teachers that have been hesitant in the past with um, uh, technology in their curriculum have actually soared. And with the remote, we have all have soared. We have been working with each other to better our technology even more, integrated even more, to the point we have second graders now with Chromebooks in the classroom, in Google Classroom. And we've been remote enough that they've had to really learn a lot, and they are learning a lot. So it has been an amazing journey to see the students and the teachers become where they are with our technology. So I hope this has been beneficial for you. So thank you.